MAGA is doing everything they can to defend Donald Trump destroying the American economy and crashing the stock market. But unfortunately for these MAGA internet personalities, their previous statements do not match their current statements defending Donald Trump, and they're being called out for their hypocrisy in a very public way. So I want to show you a couple examples of these MAGA lunatics defending Donald Trump destroying the American economy. And then later in the video, I want to show you this clip of President Obama, a new clip of him speaking out against Donald Trump's administration for one of the first times since Donald Trump got inaugurated, talking about this exact point, how Republicans are hypocrites on this stuff. But I just want to start here with conservative commentator Benny Johnson. Very recently, Benny Johnson posted this clip of Donald Trump quoting him, saying Trump while on Air Force One, quote, "We're going to become so rich, you're not going to know where to spend all that money. I'm telling you, you just watch." Now, of course, we all knew that this was never going to happen. We all see our 401ks, our portfolios, or your retirements all crashing because of Donald Trump. But that was his claim. And now, fast forward to today, when the stock market is crashing because of Donald Trump, Benny Johnson's claim is losing money means nothing. Digital ones and zeros in the end. You won't miss any of it. His claim is that basically everybody that's losing money should just shut up about it. That money doesn't actually matter. It doesn't matter if you lose it. That's the Republican message. That money doesn't matter. I think Republicans should run on that in 2026 and 2028. And this is coming from the same party that complained for years about prices under Joe Biden and him causing inflation and gas prices, which is not true, but they said it anyway. They cared about money then. They cared about prices then. But now that Donald Trump is destroying the American economy, according to them, money is just ones and zeros. They're telling you that you losing money doesn't matter. That's the conservative position for 2024. It kind of is a departure from what we saw previously. Benny Johnson said we're going to be so rich, and Donald Trump said we're going to be so rich, and now money doesn't matter. It's just the hypocrisy of the Republican Party going with the wind, saying whatever they feel is popular. Here's another one from conservative commentator Liz Wheeler, which I just find so funny. Back in 2018, she was critical of tariffs under Donald Trump when his first term, saying, quote, "A tariff by any other name is still a giant tax hike on Americans." And in 2018, she was right. These tariffs that Donald Trump is putting on all these different countries across the board is a tax hike for Americans. We will pay that at the grocery store. These businesses that are getting tariffed when they import things are just going to pass it down to you, me, your neighbor, your friends, your loved ones. We will eat it. Donald Trump and his conservative buddies, they'll be just fine. They're billionaires, right? They'll be all right. But average hardworking Americans, you out there, no, you're going to get a tax hike. But now Liz Wheeler, because of Donald Trump's new tariffs, is defending them, saying, oh, they're actually pretty great. She said, quote, "Maybe, just maybe, you've been propagandized about tariffs by the same uniparty elitists who impose deadly open borders on you." What? If your reaction to tariffs is, quote, "Oh no, it's basically a tax, stuff is going to get more expensive," then buckle up. Here's the truth about tariffs. Liz, you argued it was a tax correctly. Back in 2018, you were right. It's a tax on Americans. It's a tax on hardworking families. It is a tax. And now she's saying you've been propagandized into believing that it's a tax. Are all the major economists from all these credited institutions who also believe this to be a tax just propagandized? They have no idea what they're talking about, but these conservative commentators do. I mean, it is laughable. When you see, it's so funny watching conservatives who think they know everything try to tell people who are experts in these fields that, oh, they're just wrong, and Donald Trump is secretly magically right. I have another wonderful funny example of a conservative getting caught in the same kind of hypocrisy. This individual from the All In podcast said, quote, "The S&P 500 back in November, after Donald Trump got elected, November 10th, the S&P 500 reached an all-time high this week, passing 6,000 points on Friday. What drove this all-time high? First, Trump's election victory drove broad market optimism as the market priced in tax cuts, deregulation, and an environment conducive to business." So basically his claim is that before Donald Trump even got into office, that a good stock market was because of him. That's his claim. Fast forward to now, where that same individual is saying, quote, "The stock market is crashing. Trump has ruined everything. This is the end." Or to quote the great Dave Chappelle, and hear me out when I say this, "You could shut the F up. The stock market has simply wrung out Biden's last gasp of free money before he lost the election. We are back to where we were a year ago." So when the stock market is good under Joe Biden, it's Donald Trump's doing. It's all because of Trump. But when the stock market is bad under Donald Trump, it's because of Joe Biden. So under Biden, when the stock market is good, it's because of Trump. When it's bad under Trump, it's because of Biden. They cannot pick an argument. Everything bad that happens in the universe is apparently a Democrat's fault, according to these people. Everything good that happens in the universe is apparently Donald Trump's doing, according to these MAGA lunatics. They cannot pick a side, and their hypocrisy is so astounding. It's so astounding and gross at the same time that they, with a smile on their face, will come on here and say, when the stock market is good, Donald Trump is all to blame for it. He takes responsibility for the stock market being good. But when it's bad, months into Donald Trump's presidency, it's just the market adapting to Joe Biden. It's utter nonsense. And I cannot believe that they're getting caught in these hypocritical traps. Now, the last example I want to show you of this, before we get into this clip I want to show you, is from Catturd, this conservative account on X and Twitter. He said today, or yesterday, I should say, tariff crybabies are my favorite crybabies on social media today. That's what Catturd is saying regarding the stock market. But back when Joe Biden was president, just 10 days into his administration on January 30th, right? 10 days. He said in Biden's first full week, the S&P 500 records its worst week since October, bringing the market into lost territory for the year. So when the stock market, again, when the stock market is down under Joe Biden, it's a problem. It's bad. It's his doing. When it's down under Donald Trump, it's just tariff crybabies. That's the position of conservatives. So you're kind of seeing this trend, this hypocritical trend. And it's a trend, as I mentioned, that President Obama has acknowledged. He was speaking last evening in one of his first public appearances since Donald Trump got elected and took the office. He's been pretty quiet since then, as former presidents normally are, into new administrations. But he spoke about this, saying that if I did any of these things, Republicans would be freaking out. So just take a look at what Obama had to say. It's fantastic.
Imagine if I had done any of this. Let me just, I just want to be clear about this. Imagine that. Imagine if I had pulled Fox News' credentials from the White House press corps. You're laughing, but no, this is what's happening. Imagine if I'd said to law firms that were representing parties that were upset with policies my administration had initiated, that you will not be allowed into government buildings. We will punish you economically for dissenting from the Affordable Care Act or the Iran deal. We will ferret out students who protest against my policies. It's unimaginable that the same parties that are silent now would have tolerated behavior like that from me, or a whole bunch of my predecessors. So, and I say this not on a partisan basis. This has to do with something more precious, which is, who are we as a country, and what values do we stand for?
Yeah, I mean, really, really well said. I always love hearing President Obama speak. I just think he's such a fantastic communicator on this stuff. But yeah, I mean, can you imagine if this were Joe Biden or Obama doing any of these things? Like, imagine on day one of either of their presidencies, they released 1,500 criminals who committed crimes on their behalf. Then they signed a bunch of executive orders that didn't do anything, didn't help anybody. And then they reversed a bunch of executive orders that did, that, for example, lowered healthcare cost or capped insulin at $35 a month for seniors on Medicare. And then they went on to threaten our allies with invasion in the form of Canada, Mexico, Greenland, Panama, and more. And then they destroyed the American stock market and put the economy into perhaps a global recession, as JP Morgan is now estimating. If Obama and Biden did any of those things, Republicans would be calling for their impeachment, saying they have to be removed from office immediately. But since it's Donald Trump, Since it's Donald Trump, they are happy to humiliate themselves with these hypocritical traps where they say, we're going to get rich, but actually money means nothing. That tariffs are a tax, but actually they're not. That the stock market going up is because of Donald Trump, but it going down is actually because of Joe Biden. They will get caught in these hypocritical traps just to defend Donald Trump. But if it were a Democrat, if it were anybody else, perhaps even other than Donald Trump, if it were George Bush, Republicans would be saying, they need to get removed. It is the modern Republican Party, folks, and I think that what President Obama said there is absolutely right. And I hope we see more of him in the coming months. We need to continue to fight back against Donald Trump, and I know all of you at home are doing just that. So listen, I will leave the video there. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here. Make sure to subscribe down below. It goes an incredibly long way. Also, drop a like on the video and comment. Let me know what you think about all this stuff. And as I always say, I really, really appreciate you. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and we'll talk soon.